These days, more often than not, the success of a company is attributed to its founder. But that's only part of the story. My name is Noah Callahan-Bever, and I'm proud to present Idea Generation's All Angles, a Will Packer Media podcast. We'll be talking to all the key players from all your favorite brands, like Loud Records, Ghetto Gastro, and Earn Your Leisure. So join me each week as we dissect the most dynamic companies in culture, because the only way to truly understand success is to look at it from all angles. Listen to Idea Generation's All Angles on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On the best podcast ever with Raven and Miranda, join Raven Simone and her partner Miranda Mayday as they and celebrity guests like Demi Lovato and Meghan Trainor engage in unusual conversations.
Every episode will spin a wheel of random words from things like animosity to something like zodiac, and whatever it lands on, that's what we're going to talk about for around an hour.
Think we can't do it? Well, then you've never heard us talk.
Listen to the best podcast ever with Raven and Miranda on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
LA is expansive. There's nearly 10 million people living here, and it comes with a lot of noise. But if you tune those sounds out and listen close, you'll hear the real LA.
What up, C-Star?
Hey, Jim.
How you doing? I'm going to be a father?
Yes.
You Feeling This, a fiction podcast mixtape about love. Listen to it on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
With part 2 of the pilot episode recap. There was so much to cover in this first episode. We definitely wanted to get into all the details and bring you all of the information. So here we are back with part 2 of the pilot episode. Hope you turned into part 1.
So now we get into Michelle's room. Jesse and Joey go in to see a crying baby Michelle. And this is the first time we see Mary-Kate or Ashley, I'm not sure which one, as baby Michelle. Can you tell them apart in this scene? Do you know which twin this was?
I could at the time. I want to say, I'm trying to remember. I think Mary-Kate is the one in the last scene, or in the kitchen scene when they're changing her diaper.
Okay.
I think. But I don't know. They it went back and forth, and Ashley, Mary-Kate kind of bounced back and forth depending on who was in a better mood. When they're babies like that, that's why there's twins, because
exactly
babies are often not in a great mood all the time.
And like we mentioned, I think in the previous episode, there are strict child labor laws that babies can only work so many hours. So
not even hours. It's like 20 minutes. I think they can be in front of the camera. Yeah.
It's not a lot of time. So I was shocked at how much Michelle is actually in this episode. And you actually see the Olsen twins, not like, a stunt baby or a baby doll or just like a baby carrier turned around.
I remember those days. Those consisted of Adria later or the baby wrangler. Yeah, it might not have been Adria yet. It was probably whoever the baby wrangler was. Maybe it was Adria? Anyway.
Whoever it was, right.
Baby wranglers are the people that they bring in who are strictly responsible for the care of the babies while they're on set, for bringing them to set, for making sure that all the labor laws are abided by, all of that. They have, they're social workers, all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But the baby wranglers are there to be off camera, making weird faces and all this stuff. So I remember as a kid, having to do these shots where it would just be like a single, just a close-up shot of the babies, of Michelle, and somebody off camera or several people off camera looking like complete imbeciles, just doing all this weird stuff to try and get them to smile or react in some way. And so, there was a lot of ridiculous behind-the-scenes stuff where people just making fools of themselves to get the kids to react.
That's a thankless job right there.
Yeah, right.
It's
somewhere there's gag reel video of
Adria doing
all of that, of Adria, but there's a whole bunch of people. The kids wouldn't do something, and there was 6 people dancing around and being ridiculous. It was really funny.
Oh man, I hope we can find that footage.
Yeah.
So Michelle is crying, and the guys don't know what to do. So Jesse yells, "Shut up!" at the crib. Which did you cringe?
Whoa!
I cringed.
Whoa!
So harsh.
That was I did not remember that. I was like, wow, that was aggressive.
Yeah.
Like I said, Jesse, it's a testament to how much he grew over the years. because, I think he obviously had a very harsh childhood. I don't know. People screaming at babies.
I think it's just this joke was written, or not even a joke, but this bit was written by somebody who never had a baby. I don't know.
By men, perhaps?
Yeah. Like who just yells "shut up" at a baby? So okay, it's clear that these two men are unqualified.
Right? I mean, at least within the first 5 minutes. No.
Right. Well, yeah. Wait till they're teenagers.
Right.
Tell them to shut up all the time.
Then it's totally different. Yeah.
Right. And Joey has a much better approach. He tries to soothe her with a tight 5 impressions: Kermit, Pee Wee Herman, and then he spits water like a sprinkler, which is really creative, actually.
I mean, I love the bit where he's doing the sprinkler and John just pulls the umbrella out and puts it up over the baby. Was the timing? I mean, it's ridiculous, and you're like, who would be making a sprinkler inside a house? But it was so funny, like just the timing of it, and he doesn't even say anything. And you can already see like the setup of who Jesse and Joey are going to be in this like kind of straight man, ridiculous Laurel and Hardy-esque duo.
It's great. They're working as a team. They're not working effectively, but they are working together as a team. Right. And it's so funny. So yeah, Jesse grabs the umbrella to cover Michelle from the soda mouth sprinkler. Right. And there's a huge, huge laugh and a big applause from the audience, which is great.
Well, when he first walked into the scene, I was like, why is he carrying a can? What's he going to do?
Like, was he thirsty?
This is obvious. Right. I was like, no one ever walks into a scene with a can in their hand for no reason,
You know that it's a setup for a joke.
Oh, that's right. I knew it was a setup. Yeah, because I was like, this looks too oddly natural for a sitcom to just have someone walking in with like a drink that's not going to pay off somehow.
Right. Joey asks if Jesse thinks she needs to be changed, and we learn that neither of them have ever changed a diaper. Jesse, filled with bravado and confidence, tells Joey to move aside, and then he lifts Michelle up. Joey grabs her legs, and they walk together, carrying Michelle out of the room like she's a filthy sofa. They both,
which would also be an awkward way to carry a filthy sofa, like facing up and down like that, one at the top, one at the bottom.
They didn't want to get near the poopy diaper. I think they were just like, it's gross.
It took a lot of coordination though to run down the stairs with the baby like that.
This is such an iconic moment, and it's so funny. They're walking briskly down the stairs, and I love how they go step 1, step 2, step 1, step 2. Like they're working together. It's so great. They pass Stephanie along the way, who says, Showtime. And quickly follows them into the kitchen. Jodie, you again nailed the delivery of that line, and you just have the best zingers in this entire episode.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Steph was kind of the queen of zingers and one-liners. I always appreciated that about her.
Oh yeah, I can see why. I can see why Jeff wrote you those lines, because you nailed it.
So heading into this scene, which is actually the answer to our second trivia question, which was, what scene was it that got the network to love the show and buy Full House? And it was the kitchen scene that we're about to talk about with Michelle and Jesse and Joey and Stephanie and the diaper dilemma.
The diaper dilemma. This is such an iconic scene.
That was the answer.
Yeah, I can see why this scene sold the pilot. Like, I can absolutely, like, it's so great. Such great physical comedy between John and Dave and Ashley or Mary-Kate, whoever it was.
Yep.
It's just hysterical. It's hysterical watching two unqualified men try to change a diaper for the first time. And it's like Three Men and a Baby. It's why that movie was so popular as well.
It's true. It's true.
So yeah, well done, Jeff.
This was
Franklin.
2 men in an oven bag, but close.
Now we are in the kitchen, and Jesse and Joey wonder aloud, where are they going to put the baby? And Joey recommends a pot. But Jesse says, this is a living thing. You don't just stick it in a pot. You use a meat rack. Joey says, I'm an idiot, and grabs a meat rack as Stephanie climbs up into a chair and asks, are we going to cook Michelle? Joey says, we're changing our diaper.
By the way I say Michelle, I'm like, are you going to cook Michelle?
Well, you're watching your diction, just like the
dialogue
coach
watching my diction very carefully.
And then Stephanie replies, after Joey says, we're going to change your diaper, Stephanie replies with this iconic, I'm not even going to do the line reading because you did it so well. Stephanie replies,
then how do you roast a turkey?
This is so, okay, was this all you? Was this all you and your, or did the director tell you how to do this line? Did your mom tell you how to do this line?
Well, I wish I could tell you exactly whose influence it was, but I also know I was kind of a little sarcastic, like smart alecky, you know what I mean? Like, so that was just kind of who I was. So
It did fit your personality.
It fit my personality, and I got the joke. Like, I knew, you know what I mean? I knew Steph was like, you guys are idiots, you know, and that was sort of who she was this kid that just, like, she knew everything already. Like, what are you guys doing? Nobody asked. You know, a lot of her things were like, oh, just hanging around. Well, nobody asked me. You know, the sarcasm was already running deep with Steph at age 5. And yeah, that line became so iconic. I mean, the then how do you roast a turkey?
Oh,
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. And clearly
Yeah.
at 5 years old, you know way more than any of the adults in the house.
It's true. It's true.
Jesse and Joey use tongs to try and get rid of the diaper. And once it's off, they yell, ugh. We get an adorable reaction shot of Michelle smiling, proud of herself and enjoying this. Joey doesn't know where to put the poopy diaper, so he puts it in a Tupperware container. And Jesse says, good idea. Keep it fresh. I feel like I've seen this scene a million times, but until last night, I had never actually watched the entire pilot
whole
because
thing,
this scene is so iconic. And
And I remember sitting in the chair. I remember them putting her in the pod. Sitting there and sort of having that like flashback of being on the other side of it. And remembering them, hosing her down and, water shooting everywhere and all this. As a kid, I thought it was hilarious.
It's so great. And
it was, I'm probably giggling off in the corner.
Like you mentioned, Jesse picks up Michelle and Joey sprays water from the kitchen sink hose onto her. Okay, first of all, we have a naked baby in this scene. Did this bump you too? I'm just like,
it
they
bumped
allowed
me too
baby
because
nudity
I don't think the baby nudity was fine. I mean,
I was a little uncomfortable.
There's the Nirvana album too. It's I thought about it too. I was like, oh, I don't think we can do this. This was another one of those things you can't do with children in television anymore. Because I was like, wait, I was a little bothered by it. Not gonna lie.
And she's naked for like the rest of the scene, or not naked, but just from the waist down.
It's from the waist down, and it's just a little.
You see her rear.
Yeah, it was a little weird for me.
Maybe this is why the Olsons didn't come back to do Fuller Houses, because their ass was on display in the very first episode. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's another theory I'm working on here.
So many theories, but my theory is that you can't do this with children anymore.
No,
because you shouldn't be able to show children's naked butts on TV.
Well, and then splashing the water on her, like, I'm surprised she wasn't crying.
I watched them doing that, and I was like, I feel like, again, that things that, you could just kind of, that you kind of got away with. And again, nobody, like, they weren't hurt. Babies weren't crying. But now it's things that give you pause in regards to sort of the business and the industry and, like, kids in stunt harnesses and being hosed down on camera. I mean, things that you're like, I see this as a little, okay. There's some critiques.
It was very distracting, and I kept thinking, I'm like, how long did it take them to clean up this water in between every take? Did anybody slip? Is this dangerous? Like, I was so distracted by all of these elements that you don't think about when you're watching the episode for the first time.
Right. Yeah, it never had hit me, the like, oh wow, we're just, okay, just no diaper and just there. Yeah.
Such a hysterical scene. Okay.
But it's so,
it's so iconic.
Roast a turkey.
Jesse says, we're doing great. We should be mothers. And then they fan her butt in front of a moving fan. And Joey says, babies really have it made. We would kill for this kind of service. They can't find any diapers, so they grab some super absorbent paper towels and spin her to wrap her up and finish it off by putting her in a mesh oven bag. And Jesse and Joey are so proud of themselves. We end the scene with Stephanie saying, oh, it's not bad, but next time try these. And she holds up the diapers. Jesse asks why she's just now giving them the diapers. And she says, nobody asked me.
No one asked me. That, I think, they were trying that out, I think, as one of the original little catchphrase moments, because they thought it was funny how I said, nobody asked me. Because you see it a couple times in this episode, and I think it makes some early appearances in some other episodes too, before the how rude wound up sticking at some point.
I like how rude so much better. So although your line delivery was great, I can see why it never fully became
asked me.
a catchphrase. The next scene, we are in the living room. Danny comes home to Jesse and Joey passed out on the couch, sitting in a mess of toys and dirty baby clothes. And I just have to say at this moment, when Danny makes his entrance and slams the front door, it immediately triggered something in me because I'm like, oh, the sound of the front door closing.
I can hear that sound. So it's funny that you said that because it did the same thing for me.
Yes.
The sound of the way the front door, and not the Fuller House front door, the Full House set front door.
Yes.
Slammed. The way that it slammed, and like it was actual like stained glass in the, remember I remember like always touching it, but it was actual stained glass with like the little metal things like in between the filaments or whatever. And when it would shut, it was a double door, and it kind of like reverberated on the top lock of the other one, and it just had an echo to it. And yeah, I vividly like the sounds of that set. I remember the textures of things.
It's such a distinctive sound.
But yeah, the sound, I can hear the sound of the front door.
Yeah, it's like a hollow wood reverberating sound.
It's like a very unsturdy front door slamming itself against a wall that shakes because it's not attached to anything on the other side.
And we always had to time our lines so that we wouldn't slam the door on our opening line. So that was like it was like a delicate dance that you had to do between making your entrance, saying your line, and then slamming the door right when you finish your first line so that it doesn't interrupt your line.
Right. Yeah, the door choreography was a thing.
That was a thing. I mean, the front door is so famous. It's practically another character on the show.
Truly.
So Joey says, we're sorry, but every time we feed Michelle, she would drool or dribble or spit up. The doorbell rings and Jesse stands up to get it. But first he tells Danny, your baby is a pig. I mean, Jesse, again, is just not really a fan of babies.
He's not a fan of the babies. Yeah, no.
Jesse opens the door to reveal Miss International 1982. And as we mentioned before, Hulk Hogan's ex-sister-in-law, Vanessa.
Right. Really, that's the most important part of this entire series.
That's the only thing you need to know.
That's the only thing you need to know.
That's a wrap. We're done, everyone.
And we're done. Yep, that was it.
Thank you for joining our podcast. But even more importantly, we hear Jesse's famous catchphrase for the very first time, have mercy.
Which wasn't that an Elvis thing?
I wouldn't be surprised if it is, because I think even the name Jesse, Elvis had a twin named Jesse who died he was like stillborn in childbirth. So I feel like the name from Uncle Adam to Uncle Jesse was because, well, no, but I'm just saying, I think John Stamos had a huge influence.
So Jesse's named, Jeff Franklin loves Elvis.
Right. So I think that's why Jesse became Jesse and not Uncle Adam.
He became Jesse.
Jesse
was the
Elvis's
dead Elvis
twin.
Got it.
Well, not the dead. He was paying homage.
Okay. To the dead Elvis twin. I'm just saying. Okay. So
have mercy. We think that's an Elvis thing too.
That's gonna. I don't know enough about Elvis. Again, I'm sure Jeff or John would have the correct answer to that question, or a fan or a fact checker at some point. But I feel like have mercy was something that it wasn't like an Elvis catchphrase, but it was something that he sort of said in movies or something. Or I could be totally wrong.
We're going to have to ask John when we have him on the show, because John would know. John's going to take credit for it. John's going to say
that it was that he did it anyway.
100%. He's going to take credit.
I say that with love, John. But he's laughing, going, "Yeah, I probably would."
He's totally laughing and saying, "Yep, that tracks." Vanessa asks Jesse if his invitation to stay with him is still good, and Jesse says it's more than good. It's amazing, and they share a passionate kiss.
Right? I was like, whoa.
I was so uncomfortable with this.
You're in the living room. Right. It was more so that I was like, who does that with the family in the living room? Just start making out with people. You know what I mean? Especially someone that you met the night before in Reno.
Well, and you've got children. There's children in the room. Like, this is like, come on, guys, get a room. Literally get a room.
Well, they were trying, but there were none left. There was only the alcove.
They were trying.
But yeah, I did. I was like, I in that moment, I questioned Miss International 1982 and was a little bit like, I don't know. if I trust your judgment.
I don't know.
Or Jesse's, for that matter. Again.
Right. Well, Stephanie walks in and interrupts this awkward moment, dressed in her ballerina clothes and wants to play ballerina again. And Jesse says, we will play later. But she runs at him saying, catch me. And he lets go of Vanessa to pick her up.
Steph needs to read a room.
Jesse tells Stephanie to go upstairs and play better. Well, you were five. Still. It's understandable you want to play ballerina with your Uncle Jesse.
I feel like even at 5, if you walk into a room and 2 people are making out, you just don't go interrupt a conversation. You know what I mean? It gets weird. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, Jesse tells Stephanie to go upstairs and play ballerina with her big sister. And Stephanie says she can't play with DJ because DJ moved out. Danny asks Stephanie, what do you mean? And Stephanie says, she's gone. She rolled up her crepe paper and took off. Danny tells everyone to follow him. We smash cut to DJ and Stephanie's bedroom. Moments later, they all walk into a perfectly empty bedroom and look around for DJ. She's nowhere to be found. Danny glares up at Joey and Jesse, who look at each other like they know they screwed up.
That room, by the way, was immaculate. Like that, when she moved out, she moved out. All I'm saying is I need a 10-year-old like that to come and, when I'm cleaning up something, to come move out that efficiently, because no one around this house does.
DJ could start her own moving services company.
Yeah, movies.
What 10-year-old can move that amount of stuff without anyone noticing? A house full of people. And no one noticed that she moved all of that stuff down to the garage.
Probably a secret staircase.
Exactly. We have a very tense commercial break. And then we come back to the bedroom. And Danny says to Jesse and Joey,
I thought you meant we were having a tense commercial break right now. I was like, why is it tense? What's happening? Oh, I got it.
We can add one in, I'm sure. Like Hyundai or somebody. Yeah, let's add a commercial break right now.
Hey, I'm Jay Shetty, and I'm the host of On Purpose. In this week's episode, I had the honor to interview President Joe Biden in his first ever personal interview about mental health. The president opens up about grief, connection, the childhood battles that have shaped him, personal mental health, and mental health at large. You don't want to miss it.
The day will come when you open that closet door and you smell the fragrance of her dresses, or you're going by that park where you walked with your child or your wife or your husband, or that thing that reminds you. And for the longest time, will just bring a tear to your eye. But eventually, every once in a while, it'll bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. When that happens, you know you're going to make it. Doesn't mean you still don't cry. Doesn't mean the pain still isn't real, even years later. But you know you can make it.
Listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Craig Ferguson, the Grand Master, the architect of wisdom, Maharishi of mirth, goes in search of joy.
I'm here to help.
He'll be speaking with actors, doctors, comedians, and scientists, artists and athletes, and people of faith in search of extreme happiness.
The United States of America are crowned champions of the world.
At last, a podcast on a mission. A podcast that wonders, what is joy? Is it love, religion, drugs, success, money, revenge? Is it a surge of chemicals or a deeper awakening? Can it be nurtured, cultivated, and refined? Find out as Craig Ferguson explores the countless ways people find joy. The celebrations, the dances, the science, poetry, laughter, and music of joy. Don't miss it. Joy with Craig Ferguson. Hear it now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hola, mi gente. This is Wilmer Valderrama, executive producer of the new podcast, De My Abuelita First, part of iHeartRadio's My Cultura podcast network. Each week, host Vico Ortiz and Abuelita Liliana Montenegro will play matchmaker for a group of hopeful romantics who are putting their trust in Abuelita to find them a date.
Your job right now is to get on Abuelita's really good side.
Our Abuelita definitely knows best. On Date My Abuelita First, 3 single contestants will vie for a date with one lucky main dater. Except to get their heart, they have to win over Abuelita Liliana first. Hi, Liliana.
Yes, we are ready for love.
Through speed dating rounds, hilarious games, and Liliana's intuition, one contestant will either be a step closer to getting that pan dulce, if you know what I mean, or a step closer to getting that chancleta. Let's see if chispas will fly or if these singles will be sent back to the dating apps. Listen to Date My Abuelita First on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The show had a tense commercial break. We come back to the bedroom. Danny says to Jesse and Joey, "You lost my daughter." He went to work for 7 hours and they lost 33% of his children. Danny tells Joey to call the police, Jesse to drive around the neighborhood, and he's going to call up DJ's friends. As they walk out of the room with a purpose, Stephanie says, "And I'll go get DJ." Jesse, Joey, and Danny all slowly come back into the bedroom, and Danny squats down to ask Stephanie if she knows where DJ is. She says that she does. And when Danny asks her why she didn't say something sooner, we get an adorable callback to earlier with the diapers when Stephanie says, "Nobody asked me." The guys all look at each other like, yeah, okay, true, that's fair. We end up in the garage. DJ is on her bright red, enormous Lips phone in the garage.
Phone.
The Lips phone. This brought me right back. Like, that Lips phone was so cool.
Right?
I wanted a Lips phone for myself because it was so cool.
I had a friend who had the Lips phone.
Yeah?
They were terrible. They were it just holding it got awkward. Like, you try to put it again, it was very hard to hold half of a lip against your shoulder, which sounds awkward.
That
but
does sound
it's
awkward.
really
That's a different
You'd be
show.
surprised, right? That's, wow.
Wow.
But yeah, it was that the Lip phone made its first appearance, and that was a key part of DJ and Steph's room for sure.
Oh, I love it. So DJ's on the Lips phone in the garage. She's on the phone with Kimmie Gibbler. So this is our first Kimmie Gibbler reference. Woo woo.
Yep. Full name, by the way.
I know.
Again, I was like, oh, we're setting her up. Yeah, I'm on the phone with Kimmie Gibbler, the next door neighbor, who's going to be my best friend. Right?
I was so proud.
Right?
So DJ says, Kimmie called me from her own phone, from her own room, despite the fact that she has 3 sisters of her own. So here we are. Okay. The continuity here at this moment in time, in just the pilot, Kimmie Gibbler has three sisters, but we never hear about them again. I don't think, because like we said in our trivia question, how many siblings does Kimmie Gibbler really have?
We don't know.
At this moment,
there were 3 sisters, but eventually
it becomes
one
older brother named Garth. But we don't hear about him for a long time.
Yeah, but then Garth, then what about Jimmy?
Then Jimmy, who is younger, he's the younger Gibbler sibling. We can talk about this later, but I had a moment with the Fuller House writers where I was like, I'm going to hear about this from all the fans, that Jimmy wasn't a thing. It was Garth Gibbler. And they just hand waved it away. And they're like, oh, but we like the Jimmy, Kimmie alliteration. So they went with it. And I said, we're going to hear about it for the rest of our lives. And we will.
Yeah, and we will. And we will. And for the rest of this podcast. But yeah, that's the setup of Kimmie's family that really never gets thought about again.
Never gets talked about again.
Nope.
Danny says DJ doesn't want to live in the garage because it's filthy and stuffy. He asks if she wants some fresh air and opens the garage. She's got a point.
I mean, yeah.
Danny sighs and stands up and says, Donna Joe, which is the first time we hear DJ's full name, which is Donna Joe. I want you back inside right now, this instant. She doesn't budge, and he says, is that okay? She responds, no, thank you, Dad, and hops back on the phone with Kimmie. She's very polite for an angsty preteen. She's very polite here.
I felt there was some snark in the no thanks, Dad. And I also felt like I saw myself in my own parenting moments in that thing when you're like, that's it. You're going to do. Can you please just do it? Can you just do the thing that I asked? Yeah.
It's like you're so desperate. You just resort to begging and you're just like, please do this.
Right. You're like, I'm going to lose my mind. Please.
Right.
I'm begging you. Yeah, it was. And honestly, in that moment when I watched it, like, I did have this like feeling for Danny and like what he's going through, and he's just like, please, is that okay? He's in so over his head, and I think as a parent now, like, you watch it and you go, oh, this poor guy.
I feel for him.
Man. Right, you feel for him.
You really feel for him.
Yeah.
So Jesse teases Danny by asking if he's been reading Cosby's book.
Oh, I certainly hope not. Here's
Awkward.
a joke that didn't age well.
No, it did not. Joey steps in and says, I'll handle this. Joey does a Bill Cosby impression, mentioning Jell-O and everything, which, Dave does so many great voices so well, but this one didn't quite hit for me. And I don't know if it's because it's the Bill Cosby thing or if it's, I don't know. The whole thing.
I don't know. know.
We'll hand wave that and
but yeah, it was yeah. I mean, God, that's a dark one. You know what I mean? Knowing now, but it's anyway.
Didn't age well.
Yeah,
Didn't age well.
And the joke that was like a juicy bowl of Jell-O pudding. I was like, don't say that. Don't say that
right?
As Bill Cosby. It's creepy now.
Yeah. We're gonna have to go back and reshoot that scene now.
Right? Maybe they can just dub it over with someone slightly less offensive today.
Stephanie announces that Michelle is crying and she's got that thirsty look in her eyes. Again, adorable delivery. You could do like a formula commercial. Jodie. So
right.
great.
Basically, like, does your child look like they're starving? You should feed them. That's basically what Steph's like. She's got that thirsty look in her eye because she looks hungry. Everyone has forgotten and put her in a pot.
Right. Everyone's downstairs in the garage and Michelle is alone.
Where's Michelle?
She's watching
Well, no, she's not alone. Steph's obviously watching out for her.
Well, but you left her to come talk about how the thirsty look in her eye. That's okay.
I couldn't carry her down the basement steps. That would have been more dangerous, you know?
All right. You made the right call.
I made the right call. I left her sitting on the floor by an open stairway, like in the opening credits.
Yes.
With no baby gate, by the way. I noticed that in the baby. I picked the baby up off the floor in the opening credits, and I'm like, there's not a baby gate. The door's open. Who is letting these children on the floor? So maybe that's what Michelle was.
This series hits so differently now.
Or maybe she's still in the pot, but on the floor, and so she just couldn't really get out.
Well, her legs are tied up in the paper towels and the mesh bags.
Right. She's dressed like a turkey. You know what I mean?
Right. So Danny asks Joey to go warm up her bottle, and Joey says, with this particular baby, it might make more sense just to pour the formula directly into her diaper. That made me laugh so hard. I don't know why. It's just they're so incompetent.
Because it completely bypasses the point of feeding a baby. And it's like, really, this is just about what a nuisance it is to me, that there's just a diaper to change. I'm just going to skip the whole feeding the kid
process
part.
And pour it directly. Right. That one joke said so much. Jesse says he's got Vanessa waiting upstairs, so he wishes them the best and tries to leave. Danny says he has to go check on Michelle, and he begs Jesse to talk to DJ. He says, you're her uncle. Be parental or something. Jesse says he can be parental because he's got parents. And he walks up to DJ. He tells her he understands her desire for her own room, but the world isn't a perfect place. Bruce Willis has a record deal. Oh, I know.
That joke, it used to be like making fun of him, but then I was like, good for Bruce Willis getting a record deal. You know what I mean? Now it's got a little different flavor to it because you're like, he's going through some stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But at the time, it was pretty ridiculous. It was. This is one of those 80s moments that I don't know that people who aren't our age or older will get.
True.
But yeah, Bruce Willis, he did have a record deal, and it was everything that you would probably imagine.
Oh, well,
and I mean that with all due respect to Bruce Willis, but what he was like, it was something, wasn't he like it was like a fake name or I don't know, whatever it was pretty ridiculous.
Well, God bless him for trying, we wish him nothing but the best. So,
well, now I mean, at the time it was funny, but now it's not.
Now it's not. Jesse says, but then Vanessa shows up at your door and the world all evens out. Do you know what I'm saying? Jesse says she does. So DJ says she does. So Jesse says, great. So you're moving back in? And DJ quickly says, nah. So they bribe back and forth. Jesse tries to bribe her with $5. If she moves back in, she negotiates for $50.
She drives a hard bargain.
She does. This is bargaining 101 right here.
Yeah.
He offers
Comes
her
down
$10.
$1.
She goes down to $49, and he's furious that she negotiated for just $1 lower. She says, now it's back up to $50. He says his final offer is $20, and she says $21. Vanessa's waiting. Ooh, getting him where it hurts. She knows she's got him. He pulls out his wallet, and we dissolve to the living room. Jesse announces to everyone that DJ is moving back in because he has a special way with kids. He heads upstairs, but Danny stops him, saying Vanessa isn't up there. Stephanie says she's history.
She's history. I do have a question, though, because the last that we've seen, there's only a small child's bed in Jesse's room, right? So, what?
Well, they're not. They don't need space. Like the closer, the better. I don't know.
It's a twin bed. That doesn't. I don't know. It just, that whole thing felt, again, that was one of those like, wow, this feels, it's weird.
Well, it's weird. The fact that it's his first night in the Tanner house and he's already inviting overnight guests when there are 3 daughters.
Presumptuous.
It's very
presumptuous. Yeah, a little presumptuous, especially after putting the kid in an oven bag. You know what I mean? Like, you have not earned the right to guests, sir.
He has not earned the right to have overnight sleepovers yet.
No. Are they going to get it? Like, was it like an air mattress? You know what I mean? She's sleeping on a sleeping bag in the floor.
So a concerned Jesse jumps over the couch to interrogate Danny, and he covers.
He did a lot of
Stephanie's
that, by the way. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but
No,
I
that's
did.
okay,
That was
but
one of the things I noticed was John liked to jump over furniture.
That was a John thing.
That was a John thing. It was I'm gonna leap over this like a cougar or something.
He's very limber, and he was part of the character. I feel
I'm
Jesse,
not knocking it. It was funny that I think he did it like 2 or 3 times in the first episode. Or maybe it just felt like that. Maybe it's just once.
Maybe it felt like 10 times.
Right.
Danny explains that he told Vanessa to sleep on the couch since there are girls in the house, and she left. Good for Danny, by the way, for making those boundaries clear.
Danny.
Right.
Yeah.
Right from the start.
And again, Vanessa, I questioned your judgment a little bit. You know what I mean? I'd like to. We need to talk a little.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Vanessa didn't care that there were small children in the house. She's perfect for Jesse.
You know, all I gotta say is he's got some things to work on. You know what I mean? He's got some things to work on.
DJ walks in carrying her clothes, and Jesse explains that Vanessa is gone, so the deal is off, and he wants his money back. Danny can't believe Jesse's way with kids is buying them off, which I thought
Isn't
was
that
smart.
the way with kids?
I know.
I was like,
by
I
the
have
time they're
kids.
teenagers,
I'm pretty sure that's how they
best
operate.
way.
You just go, just do this. Here, I will give you $5.
The desperation of parenting.
Right.
DJ gives Jessie the money back and says she has other sources of income. She's going back to her new room in the garage to have a garage sale. Danny asks Jessie to hold Michelle and goes after DJ. Jessie looks at Michelle and says, "Don't even think about it." Now we are in the kitchen. Danny tells DJ he can't let her have a garage sale. She offers him 10% of the profits, but he just wants her to try sharing a room with her sister.
This is the moment. This is the moment that the violins come in.
Oh, yes.
They make their first appearance.
The scene.
It gets tender and sensitive.
Danny says that DJ's mom was so good at this. I would come home and everything would be perfect. Danny earnestly asks...
misogynistic.
What?
Sorry.
Oh, you're ruining the violin moment.
I'm saying. He's like, I'd come home and everything was perfect. Well, sir, what were you doing around the house? No, I'm just, sorry.
He was doing his sports reporting.
Okay. It's good to
Danny
contribute,
earnestly asks DJ, how would mom have handled this? Which I thought was such a beautiful way of giving the DJ some agency and just like, hey, how incorporating her into the solution. How would mom have handled this? This is such excellent parenting.
Right.
DJ, now visibly sad, says her mom would have caught me before I moved to the garage. Her mom knew everything she did before she did it. Then there is some sad music and Bob's eyes look like they well up with tears. DJ says, it's not fair. First I lose my mom, then grandma leaves. Now I even lose my own room. Everything keeps disappearing. Danny says he knows how she feels and he knows how much the girls miss their mom because he misses her too. Like, I watched this episode 3 times and I bawled all 3 times. Like, and I'm tearing up right now just reading this. Like, it was such a knockout performance by Candace and Bob. And I don't know if it makes me emotional because Bob's not here anymore, or because this was just, I mean, this is it. This is Full House. Yeah. This is the scene. Full House is about heart and love and family and working through problems together. And it is so beautiful.
For me, when I watched this moment, with Bob being gone, it definitely felt different watching this scene, because it all just takes on a little bit different meaning, different air. but when I watched the scene, the rest of the pilot is fun and silly, and there's the moments with the baby and the, all this wacky stuff happening. But I watched Bob and Candace so genuinely connect in that scene. And I remember, like, it was like a click, and I went, oh, this is exactly why people fell in love with the show. Was that we could sit and laugh at the ridiculousness and the stupidity and all of this stuff, and yet we could come to a moment of people having a real family moment together, and also, like, it genuinely be, like, Bob was there and connected with that, and Candace was, and I, and like, as a little kid, like, it meant more than just saying lines on a page, and when that moment happened, and it was, and I laugh with the first, the violins and all this, but it was that moment that people talk about in Full House, that, yes, it gets wrapped up with a nice little bow at the end of 30 minutes, but there's a genuine feel to it, and you feel it between us, which was the thing that I think, again, this magic little show, it was really all about the magic people that showed up. And that was that moment. That was that moment when you saw that special, genuine connection. And I think that has always been the success of this show, was that you could watch whatever scene, whatever problem that we were all going through, and you saw that genuine connection. And it didn't feel like they weren't a family. It felt like you had a window into these real people's lives, And yeah, I watched this episode a couple times, and I watched that scene several times. And yeah, it definitely made me miss Bob. I have a little Bob painting up here that's looking over my desk. But yeah, and it was then, we then ended it with a hug. And that was the moment, right? That was the Full House moment. It was remembering what was really important. And I watched that episode, and I went, yeah, okay, I get it.
I had that same light bulb moment. Like, it just pierces you straight in the heart.
Yeah.
And tugs on your heartstrings. And I was just like, this is why audiences fell in love with this show. And Danny says, you have us, we're still a family. And now you have Uncle Jesse and Michelle and Joey, and we all have to stick together. And DJ, you have to move back inside, or all 5 of us are going to move into the garage to keep the team together. Nothing can break up this team. She smiles and says she will move back in. Danny tells her he loves her, and tells Stephanie he loves her too. And the scene ends with a big group hug and applause from the audience, which is just so beautiful and speaks right to the heart of the show. And it's about, we are a family. It's a non-traditional family. It's not a mom and a dad and 2.5 kids. This family looks a little bit different, but I also think that's why people loved this show so much. That's
always been a huge piece of the show, was that, we basically said, like, your family is who you choose. Your family is who you include, who shows up for you. And it doesn't, might not always be what people expect it to look like, but that's your family, And and this, it was fun to go back and watch, and not be watching it from a place of, like, being a kid and being like, oh my God, this is so lame. We did. I know as a kid that I would watch the show and be like, this is so silly. But going back and watching it as an adult and being like, oh, I get it. Like, I get why this resonated with people. It was a really wonderful, sweet moment. And then, of course, comes the famous end of the pilot scene.
Oh, yes.
In which there is a tune, which happens.
There is a tune. There's a tune.
There is a tune.
We are back in the living room. Jesse's trying to teach Michelle how to say Uncle Jesse. She coos. He kisses her on the forehead, but when Danny and the girls come in the room, he toughens up and tells Michelle, starting tomorrow, you use the toilet like the rest of us, because God forbid he's caught, having a tender moment with Michelle. Right. DJ tells Uncle Jesse, there's good news. Our deal is back on. Jesse reaches for his wallet and DJ says, don't worry, I'll put it on your tab. Danny says, this is all working out so great. The girls love Uncle Jesse. He says, sure, because he dances around and gives them money. Then Michelle coos and Jesse asks, well, what's wrong now? Danny says, Michelle, no, there's nothing wrong. Michelle loves music. And Joey appears from what is now his room in the back of the living room, the large alcove. Which brings us to this little segment that we're calling Everywhere You Look, which is a point where we're just going to point out some random observations.
Well, Everywhere You Look is some of the set deck and some of the iconic things that existed in, not only that maybe the audiences saw, but I know that there are tons of stupid little set deck things and props and whatever that I remember from being on the set. But Joey's alcove was a pretty fun one to watch. And if you watch it from week to week, it changes.
That's
because there was that mannequin in there, which was terrifying, by the way. Not terrifying. I don't know. Mannequins are weird. But it was like, who has a mannequin?
It was dressed exactly like him. Like
that was the thing. Every week it had the same shirt on as Dave.
Yes.
And I think that was a Dave. I think that was a Dave choice.
I'm willing to bet on that too. Is that was Dave's choice?
That it was a Dave choice that he always would wear like the same shirt as Joey.
Yeah, I love it.
So did they have to buy 2 shirts?
For sure. Were they 2 different sizes? I don't know.
Dress a mannequin and Dave.
We also have a massive Mr. Potato Head in yellow glasses, a Popeye in olive oil stuffed animals,
yep.
A globe. Which I think I remember the globe for some random reason.
I remember the globe. I remember in the alcove, there were like weird little, all those books and all this stuff. Do you remember the book Valley of the Dolls?
Oh, yes, I do.
I mean, the book and what Valley of the Dolls is about is it's about
dark.
Like drugs and murder. It's kind of a dark book. But for some reason, I was drawn to that one on the shelf as a kid.
Shocking.
And, but I remember... It had like the 80s, like it was like such a bad 80s cover of like drawings on, I don't know. It was like just like terrible library books in that thing. But all of the stuff that was Dave's in there and all of the laundry and like, I feel like every week we're going to go back to looking in the alcove and being like, oh my God, look, there's the parrot or,
The parrot. That's right.
There was a parrot in there too, wasn't there?
There was a parrot. I don't know if it's in this episode, but it's definitely in an upcoming episode. There's a ventriloquist dummy box. Yep. And then all of the laundry that he piled onto Bob in the first scene is still there in the large alcove.
And the living room, because it's apparently gone everywhere now. And also, I did notice this. So Jesse calls off the deal with DJ because he's basically paying her because Vanessa's there, right?
Right.
So then she's like, okay, I'm going to move in. He's like, well, I'll pay you now.
Right.
But wasn't he only paying her because Vanessa was there? So now, like, why would he offer to pay her again? You know what I mean? Like, that's already been ruined.
Right. The deal, Vanessa's gone, so the deal should be off.
Just to be fair, to be like, okay, fine, I'll give you the $20 anyway because I said I was going to.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good plot hole. I
noticed it.
Again, don't pull that thread. There's a lot of threads you don't want to pull.
The whole, right.
Because otherwise we'll never get past this pilot because there's so many plot holes in every episode.
It's true.
But that's okay. Joey comes out of his large alcove and then starts this, again, iconic moment. Joey starts singing the Flintstones theme song and everyone joins in, dancing around the crib. Stephanie ends it by yelling, Wilma, and we get an adorable reaction shot of all 3 guys and the girls, including baby Michelle. And there was this moment where you and Candace say, a dabba-doo time, and you're laughing.
I was laughing hysterically.
Do you remember why you were laughing?
I wish I could remember why I was laughing, but I feel like I was probably laughing at Dave or Bob, who were like screwing around and doing some, and being ridiculous.
Right.
And I just thought it was so funny. And also, I was 5. You know, there are a lot of times when I'm sure we're going to be watching the show and I'm like, what was I doing? Where was I? Like, I'm over there like giggling to myself or totally out of character, out of the scene. But yeah, that was, I don't know what we were giggling at, but I'm sure it was either Bob or Dave. And yeah, I was watching myself singing the Flintstones song. I was quite into it.
Oh, you were so proud.
I was like, my little head was bobbing. I was really into singing the song. Yeah, give me a song to sing and I'm just thrilled.
You were such a natural performer that this was right up your alley. Do you know why they picked the Flintstones theme song? Like, that's a very random way to end a pilot episode, is with a song from a cartoon.
Yeah, but I mean, were the Flintstones popular?
At some point in the 80s?
In the 80s? I know they were like a 60s. They were like a 60s cartoon, but it was, I know it was popular. I don't know. Maybe it was the song that we could get cleared for licensing.
That's
probably
the correct
most importantly,
answer,
that's what it was. I'm sure there was something else that made much more sense, but that was far more expensive. Right. And so the Flintstones theme song. Although, that's a Jeff question.
That's a good question for
Why
Jeff.
the Flintstones?
Is the only song we could afford the Flintstones theme song?
Right.
Probably, yes.
Or does he have some special fondness for the Flintstones? Is it what is the, what's the story with the Flintstones?
Yeah.
Again, nothing against them.
No.
Totally fine with the Flintstones. Just an interesting choice.
Interesting choice. I look forward to hearing more about why these choices were made.
That's all I'm going to think about between this week and next week.
Hey, I'm Jay Shetty, and I'm the host of On Purpose. In this week's episode, I had the honor to interview President Joe Biden in his first ever personal interview about mental health. The president opens up about grief, connection, the childhood battles that have shaped him, personal mental health, and mental health at large. You don't want to miss it.
The day will come when you open that closet door and you smell the fragrance of her dresses, or you're going by that park where you walked with your child or your wife or your husband, or the thing that reminds you. And for the longest time, it'll just bring a tear to your eye. But eventually, every once in a while, it'll bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. When that happens, you know you're going to make it. It doesn't mean you still don't cry. Doesn't mean the pain still isn't real, even years later. But you know you can make it.
Listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Craig Ferguson, the Grand Master, the architect of wisdom, Maharishi of mirth, goes in search of joy.
I'm here to help.
He'll be speaking with actors, doctors, comedians, and scientists, artists and athletes, and people of faith in search of extreme happiness.
The United States of America are crowned champions of the world.
At last, a podcast on a mission. A podcast that wonders, what is joy? Is it love, religion, drugs, success, money, revenge? Is it a surge of chemicals or a deeper awakening? Can it be nurtured, cultivated, and refined? Find out as Craig Ferguson explores the countless ways people find joy. The celebrations, the dances, the science, poetry, laughter, and music of joy. Don't miss it. Joy with Craig Ferguson. Hear it now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hola, mi gente. This is Wilmer Valderrama, executive producer of the new podcast, De My Abuelita First, part of iHeartRadio's My Cultura podcast network. Each week, host Vico Ortiz and Abuelita Liliana Montenegro will play matchmaker for a group of hopeful romantics who are putting their trust in Abuelita to find them a date.
Your job right now is to get on Abuelita's really good side.
Our Abuelita definitely knows best. On Date My Abuelita First, 3 single contestants will vie for a date with one lucky main dater, except to get their heart, they have to win over Abuelita Liliana first. Hi, Liliana.
Yes, we are ready for love.
Through speed dating rounds, hilarious games, and Liliana's intuition, one contestant will either be a step closer to getting that pan dulce, if you know what I mean, or a step closer to getting that chancleta. Let's see if chispas will fly or if these singles will be sent back to the dating apps. Listen to Date My Abuelita First on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So that is our pilot episode. What are your overall thoughts about this episode? Do you think was it a great pilot? Was it a terrible pilot? Like, what are your overall thoughts on this?
Well, okay. So here's the thing. It's hard for me to judge objectively because sitcoms are not something that I ever watched or really watch even now. So for me, when I watch it, it's so like the jokes and stuff are so, even for like the 80s, feel to me like something I just don't know that I would have watched. But you know what? I'm a liar. I watched Small Wonder. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What am I saying? I watched Out of This World. I have no taste. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think it's because I know so much about everybody on the show that I'm like, oh, we could, But I watched it as a pilot and I can absolutely see the heart in it. And I see why people liked the characters. Mm-hmm. I can see, I see the beginnings of what would become the things that people really loved about this show and the relationships and all of that. And it is, it's interesting to go back and watch the beginning of us all knowing each other because it is so obvious that we're all kind of new together, as opposed to now, nearly 40 years later, it's like there's such a level of comfortability and ease with us. But it is weird to go back and like watch sort of, our first interactions and like how we did and how we got along.
Right.
And,
you were still getting to know each other at this point.
Yeah.
Wild.
There was no, and that's why I think that scene with Bob and Candace is also so poignant and touching is because it is so evident that there's heart there and real, true, genuine connection. And to know that we had all just met recently and we were all still getting to kind of know each other, and that, what a great moment to have captured for the show. It really sets the tone of what it's going to be. It was, oh God, it was so fun to watch. And I did not realize that I had such a tiny little peanut voice.
Oh yeah, you did. You were
even like a little tiny person, and I talk like this.
Yeah. You were a little munchkin. You were just a tiny little. You were like a doll. I wanted to put you in my pocket and take you home with me. It was so cute.
Thank you. Do you still want me to put me in your pocket?
Oh, every day.
That sounded weird. That's not how I meant it. I just meant because I'm still tiny and cute and adorable.
Well, no, I thought this was absolutely.
No, I'm old and bitter. No,
I thought this was the perfect pilot of an 80s sitcom. Yeah. I mean, it had all the elements.
You weren't in it, so you kind of have no horse in this race.
True. I feel like you had a clear sense of the characters' personalities.
Right.
There was comedy, there were hijinks, there was tomfoolery, but there was also heart and sentimentality.
Very important.
It had everything. And as an audience member, you really feel like you are part of the family, which I think is why people kept tuning in every week. Because
it's true. I could smell the alcove from here.
Yes. Yeah. You can smell the lumber. You can smell the wood of the set.
We were talking about this the other day, how as a kid, and even just working in this business, so much of sets and also studio lots they're lumber yards. They're constantly building sets and cutting wood, and I remember the smell of those freshly built sets. And what it's such a vivid memory, just like the door slamming shut. I can remember all of those things.
It's a very sensory experience. And you're right. As soon as you smell that lumber, it's like you're instantly transported back to like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the sawdust. Like this is probably why you had allergies, because of all the sawdust.
It's right. It's true. Well, I tie it all specifically back to that curtain slapping me in the face repeatedly. That's where it all started.
That's where it all began.
And well, I'm so glad that everyone got to join us for this walk down memory lane, the beginning of the walk down memory lane, because we are just getting started. Our next episode is next week, season 1, episode 2, Our Very First Night, which aired September 24th, 1987. Make sure you're catching up and tuning in to all of the episodes as we're watching them. They are available everywhere you look.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the next episode. I am so excited to see where this goes. And I'm so excited to be recapping this with you, Jodie.
I know. I love it. So make sure and follow and DM us on Instagram at How Rude Podcast, or you can email us at howrudepodcast@gmail.com. And we will look forward to seeing you guys next week to discuss more fun Full House memories, ridiculous Andrea Barber and I stories. Andrea Barber.
Jodie Sweeten.
And yeah, I'm so looking forward to this. The world is small, but the house is full.
Aw, I love that. And I love you, Jodie.
I love you.
All right, see you next week.
Hello and welcome to Bad Manners. This is the podcast that takes you inside Britain's stately homes and tells all the tales the guidebooks don't. My name is Tom Horton and I'll be your host. I'm on a mission to find out the frightening, filthy and downright jaw-dropping stories of these stately homes and the people in them. Listen to Bad Manners on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On the best podcast ever with Raven and Miranda, join Raven Simone and her partner Miranda Mayday as they and celebrity guests like Demi Lovato and Meghan Trainor engage in unusual conversations.
Every episode will spin a wheel of random words from things like animosity to something like zodiac, and whatever it lands on, that's what we're going to talk about for around an hour.
Think we can't do it? Well, then you've never heard us talk.
Listen to the best podcast ever with Raven and Miranda on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
LA is expansive. There's nearly 10 million people living here, and it comes with a lot of noise. But if you tune those sounds out and listen close, you'll hear the real LA.
What up, C-Star?
Hey, Jim.
How you doing? I'm going to be a father?
Yes.
You Feeling This, a fiction podcast mixtape about love. Listen to it on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.